Hey everyone, how are you doing today? I hope everyone's having a good day. I get to retry doing this video again. Um, this is back to our life lesson. We've already talked about the importance of buying a house, trying to learn how to save, and doing some of the things. But I want to talk about one of the most important principles and where it came from, which is pay yourself first. See, right? This goes back to basically the beginning of financial planning in some ways, which started in a book that was printed in 1926. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. Good book, worth the reading, even though it's old. It's got classics. There was 7 cures on how to generate wealth and 5 laws of gold. Much are being discussed in the classes you see today because they're the principles of building wealth. Well, what was the first principle and the most important principle? It was pay thyself first. What does this mean? It is basically some of the foundation in which Quest is built on and what we do and why what we do is so important. So what this means is the very idea before you pay anybody, before you pay your rent, before you buy food, before you do anything at all, you put 1 or 10% of your money towards your future and investing. It's a 2-part thing, right? There's savings and investing, but we take 10% away. Right? This doesn't seem to make sense when you're starting a family, trying to look cool, right? Or just trying to deal with boredom. But it's a founding principle, and this is how it works. It's really solid principle of time is most people will spend in one way or another everything they take home. That's the case of most people. Even the savers sometimes save in such a way that the emergencies still erode that away. You need to learn how to live on a little bit less, and the easiest way is to take home less, right? So some of us have the discipline to do this, some of us don't, and that's the truth. So what's the easiest way? The way that people that are W-2 employed are out there, it's simply your employer plan. At Quest, it's our 401k, right? You can have a total of 10% of your check taken directly out before you ever come home, and you have paid yourself first. Now, we start with a head start in the game, right? What's that head start? Well, you work for Quest, so you don't have to match your employer funds. You can start with the 3% that we're going to guarantee that we put in there. Now we only have 7% we have to save, right? Most years, Quest puts in 2%. We don't have to. That's the profit sharing amount, right? But it could be something in between the 3 and 2%. I'd suggest most years we're over 4%, so maybe use the 4% as your baseline. Now you have 6 more percent you have to fill in. You can have that directly taken out of your check, and you have satisfied the first law of building wealth. There are problems with the 401k plan. Let's look at them. With 401k plans, your investments are tied up, right? As long as you're employed here. And at Quest, it also takes time after you've had your separation of service to get that put over into your other things. And the investment options are limited. At Quest, they're very limited, right? They're limited by whatever Quincy decides, so that may not be appropriate for everybody that's here, all right? But if you don't have the discipline to take a look and make payments, this is easily the best way to go because it's just done. It's taken from you before you had a chance to spend it. And trust me, you will either learn to make more, which is what most of you will end up doing, and learn on living on less. And it's easy to do. For more information, I love this picture, David. For more information for our Quest employees, right? See David, he is actually a wealth of information about 401k plan here at work, knows about it, and can be very, very helpful for you understanding the investments and things that are in there. What's one of the other things? I'm telling you, if you got the discipline, I think that using it should be done for those of you that qualify as a contribution to a Roth IRA. Building a Roth IRA allows you to do so much. All right. I know you don't get the tax deduction, but as you put that money in, it can grow tax-free. Since most of our staff is pretty young, that's got a huge amounts of advantage. And as you build up this account, then you can start to self-direct with it and learn how and take advantages of the other principles. This takes discipline. This means when you get your check, you got to write a contribution, Start a small 401k at your local bank until you can build it up. And once you have an idea of how to self-direct it from there, you can transfer back and forth. That's the best way to do it. Don't automatically start with a Quest account until you have an investment available. Talk to one of the IRA specialists on things, right? 401ks have Roth IRAs have a lot of advantage in there, right? The contributions are pretty strong that we can make, right? This time of year, we can make 2 of them. So you could, if you're a little bit behind on your paying 10% to yourself, we could put quite a bit away because we can make contributions for last year and this year until filing deadlines, right? And contributions can be taken out for any reasons without having to pay tax on it, right? It says tax or penalty, which is wrong, Katie. But without having to pay tax on that amount. Why? Well, you've already paid the tax, and contributions can be removed tax-free and penalty-free at any time. I'm sorry, that is right. I'm getting confused myself. Tax-free and penalty-free at any time, right? So it is a little bit like a savings plan. If we do have an emergency, we could take that money out. Now, the gains will be subject to it. You can also use it. First-time home buyers can take up to $10,000 without taking a penalty, right? That doesn't mean that we didn't have to pay taxes on the gains there. College expenses can be withdrawn, also removing that 10% penalty. And with the new Secure 2.0 Act, $1,000 penalty free for emergency expenses. Still trying to figure out what they mean by emergency expenses, but it seems to be pretty open. The point I'm trying to make with the Roth IRA is that it's much more flexible, and especially when you factor in self-direction, tons and tons of advantages to you. So if you have the discipline, one of the first type of accounts that you should fill up is your Roth IRA, right? I would try to make those contributions if you can do that. What's another way to pay yourself first? I like health savings accounts, guys. I really like the idea that you can have a health savings account here. Now, a lot of you take the employer plan that we're making contributions to your health savings account. Health savings account's extremely flexible account if you understand, especially if you understand how to use it, right? If you're single, your contributions are different than if you're a family. Family constitutes you and someone else if you're paying for someone else on your plan. Now, Quest makes contributions to a lot of your health savings accounts, but you can fill up that difference. You calculate what Quest put in over the course of the year, and in the difference, if you have one of these, you should always, regardless of savings or wanting to save or not, fill up that difference with making a contribution to the health savings account. Why? Well, let's go back over it. Contributions to health savings accounts go in what? Tax-free. They come out how? Right? Or this, you get a tax deduction when you put it in. When it comes out tax-free. Man, I'm mixing it up to this morning. But you get what I'm saying? So even if you put the money into a health savings account and then immediately turned around and removed it for a qualified medical expense, which are really easy to come to, IRS publication 502, just putting it in and putting it out would have created a tax deduction for you every year. So if you have a health savings account, you should always try to max that out. And again, we could partner that health savings account with a Roth account and do self-directed, right? What could we do self-direction? So many different things. Talk to an IRA specialist, right? There is a not so fun fact I want to remind you about health savings account. What's the not so fun fact? The number one reason wealth gets depleted is due to illness. I think building up your health savings account is one of the best things that you can do to learn to survive emergencies as you get older. You will spend your money to get better. That's a fact of life. So building up a health savings account, I think, is one of the best things you can do. It's one of the programs we offer. If you don't understand health savings account, again, sit down with one of our IRA specialists, one of our marketing specialists, one of the officers of the company. You know, anybody that's got a CISP can sit down and explain to you the absolute benefits of learning to use this account to its maximum ability. In some cases, right, you could use a Coverdell education account. The contributions are pretty small. And I really don't like Coverdell's for those people that have the ability to take a small amount of money and make it worth a whole bunch. Okay, if I knew I had a really big, good investment that I could take a $2,000 contribution and turn it to $10,000 in a short period of time, a few years, I was pretty bullish on doing that. That makes a lot of sense because you don't get a deduction for putting it in, right? It's all about growth, and it is somewhat limited, though it can be passed from one child to the other, and when it's 30, but you're limited on what you can use it for inside of there. But having some funds set aside for education will help your children make that decision to get an education. And if we're talking about building wealth, as I've told before, building wealth is an overall principle. We don't just talk about having money. We talk about solving life's problems through the way we use money. And so if we have certain abilities, like there are other ways to save for education. But if you have children, I always encourage to have some type of savings available for them as you go along. It will help tremendously. It's not just savings, right? You've got to invest in your future. And investing in your future should mean taking some time to yourself to learn about investing. What is the best way to invest? I don't know. What are you best at? There's all types of things to invest in. You can invest through stock markets, right? Rental properties. I love to loan money or partnering on loans. I've seen Questies get together, 4 or 5 of them, because none of them had enough to do a loan by themselves and partner together. Partnering on oil and gas investments, limited partnerships, and much, much more, right? It's really about taking the first step. And what is the first step? When is the best time to invest? Do you know? The best time. When is it? The answer is when you have the money. That's when you should invest. So the first step is getting a little bit of that money. And the best way to do that is to pay thyself first. Right? Q15 question. What is the first law of building wealth? Spending all the money you can. Pay thyself first, or buying a big dream home. Thank you, guys. I hope this was helpful. Have a good day.